Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got several things for you guys today, including some reviews and a few pickups for the collection, so here we go. The first review is for the movie Richard Jewell. I rented this from the library again. So this is based on the true story of the 1996 Atlanta Games bombing. I was only 8 years old when that happened, so I don't really remember it at all. So this was all new to me because I haven't done any research on the subject at all. I thought this was a fantastic movie. It's directed by Clint Eastwood, stars Kathy Bates, Sam Rockwell, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde, and Paul Walter Hauser. Great cast. Everybody was excellent in this movie. Kathy Bates especially, she got nominated for an Oscar for it. And Sam Rockwell is one of my favorite actors, so I try to watch everything that he's in, and he was excellent as well. Olivia Wilde was the only one it was hit or miss, and her character is the least compelling of the five. She plays the journalist that breaks the story, but the way that they treat the character in the story apparently is not true to what actually happened, so people were a little up in arms about that. That's really my only negative complaint about the movie, because it did feel like her character kind of got the shaft multiple times and never really got her redemption story. But outside of that, I mean, this is just, it's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, but it didn't seem like it at all. It blew by for me anyway. Very entertaining. I thought it was high quality. Clint Eastwood always, in my opinion, does a great job. He has a few clunkers in his filmography in terms of directing, but for the most part, like, he always does an excellent job. I really liked Gran Torino and The Mule and Invictus, and just a whole bunch of his movies in the past 10-15 years have been very high quality, and this is another one that I would say is also of high quality. I would give it a 9 out of 10. The next one I watched, and also rented from the library, was 1917. I had not seen this yet. I wanted to catch it in theaters, but I never did. So I just waited for it to come out on 4K. One more thing with Richard Jewell, they didn't release it in 4K, only on Blu-ray, which was disappointing. It bombed at the box office, so that's why. But still, I always hate when big budget movies don't make it onto 4K, because I prefer them in 4K. And it was Warner Brothers, who almost always releases in 4K. But anyway, 1917, this was phenomenal. As in terms of a technical achievement, it rivals Dunkirk in every way possible. Dunkirk, actually, I thought was not as compelling as this movie story-wise. In terms of the technical aspects, they're both like two of the best war movies I've seen in terms of just capturing that raw intensity and making you really feel like you're there. 1917, I think, has more compelling characters and a more compelling story, and is not as long as Dunkirk, which is in its favor, because sometimes these war movies can drag a little bit, and there are parts in this movie that drag, but I mean, it's to be expected. But overall, the cast is a lot of people that you're probably not going to know. They filled in a lot of the smaller roles almost as cameos with famous actors like Mark Strong, and let's see, who else do we have? Richard Madden, Colin Firth, Benedict Cumberbatch, but they're literally on the screen for like a minute, 2 minutes max. Most of the action is with George McKay, who's from Captain Fantastic, and Dean Charles Chapman, who was Tommen Baratheon in Game of Thrones. You probably recognize him if you've seen Game of Thrones. But I thought this was an excellent movie. I need to watch it again. It's a borderline 10 out of 10 for me. I'm going to give it a 9 right now. But if I watch it again, I mean, I was just blown away by how well shot it was, how well acted it was. The cinematography won the Oscar for Best Cinematography. It deserved it. It looked phenomenal. Like, I could not take my eyes off of the cinematography. The special effects, it won special effects as well at the Oscars. They're fantastic as well. You can't even tell that they're there. They're more of the subtle special effects rather than the in-your-face, like Star Wars and Transformers special effects. But this was an excellent movie. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it. I'm actually adding this one to my collection. I ordered the Steelbook after watching it, because those usually go out of stock pretty fast at Best Buy. So I'll have the steelbook for you guys to show next week. And the last review is one that I did add to my collection this week, Dr. Sleep. Got the slipcover copy in 4K. So I like The Shining. It's not my favorite movie, but it's one that I watch and enjoy. It's a little long for me, and it isn't my favorite horror movie, but I like it enough that I was intrigued by a sequel, so I rented this from the library before buying it, and I actually really enjoyed this as well. I was surprised at how well done this was. As a sequel to The Shining, it nails it, for sure. I know Stephen King did not like the Shining movie because they changed the story so much from the book, and when they wanted to make this movie, they had to convince him that it needed to be more of a sequel to the movie than the book, while still maintaining the book's core, and he agreed to that because, you know, film goers, obviously, there's a lot of people that consider The Shining a classic and one that is like an example of how to do a horror movie right. So it has both elements of the book. I haven't read it, but from what I've read online, it has elements of the book plus elements of the movie mixed in to please both sides of the coin, basically. But this is a long movie, 2.5 hours. Didn't feel like it again. Very entertaining. Now, there's a director's cut in here that is actually 3 hours long, but the 4K copy is only... I'll show you guys the theatrical cut. So we've got the 4K copy here, it's the theatrical cut, and then the director's cut is only on Blu-ray. I watched the theatrical cut. I haven't watched the director's cut yet because I wanted to watch it in 4K, but I'll probably watch the director's cut at some point. It's just a little disappointing that it's only on Blu-ray, so it's not going to look as nice. But the story is really cool. Ewan McGregor plays Dan Torrance as an adult, and it takes place, I want to say it's 40 years. I think, yeah, it's been 40 years since The Shining, so I guess that would make sense. But the story is a lot more supernatural and a lot less, like, visceral than the original Shining was. But if you're into supernatural horror, it's kind of horror. It's not scary. I didn't think it was scary at all. But it's more, honestly, of like a sci-fi horror, I guess. But if you're into that kind of stuff, this is definitely one I would recommend. It has some... just some awesome acting and cinematography as well. There's a shot where Rebecca Ferguson's character goes up into the sky and it shows the stars as she's traveling from one spot to another, and that shot just blew me away. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'd say this for me is an 8 out of 10. I will definitely watch this again at some point. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Seems like I've been watching a lot of 8 or 9s out of 10s lately, so I apologize for that. There are some movies that I don't like at some point. The other movie that I added to my collection was a $5 bin from Walmart. Went to go grocery shopping. I've never seen this. Malcolm X, directed by Spike Lee. I probably won't get to this anytime soon because my watch list is pretty substantial, but I do want to watch this at some point, so I added it to my collection. So whenever I do watch it, I will give you guys a review. That's 201 minutes, so it's probably going to be way further down the line because that's over 3 hours long, and longer movies tend to go down my list. But that's everything I have for you guys. Thanks for watching, and next week we will have 1917 Steelbook and Star Wars The Rise of the Skywalker Steelbook. So look forward to that, and I'll see you guys later.